I am Sean Webb, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Zach Poitras, and this is Your Superior Self.
I'm Andy Mant, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Sue Jackson, and this is Your Superior Self.
I'm Ginny Sarasvati, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up, Superior Nation? Welcome back to Your Superior Self. I'm Trey Downs, and today on the show, I have Jonathan Hammond joining us, a special guest who is a new author of the book, A Shaman's Mind. And Jonathan has an amazing story. He's an author, spiritual teacher, energy healer, shamanic practitioner, and spiritual counselor. He graduated from Harvard University and the University of Michigan. And I guarantee if you ask him, like when you graduated from Harvard, did you ever think you would be teaching or you would be certified as a master teacher in Shamanic Reiki? I don't think he'd say yes. I think he would say you're out of your mind. But, you know, we grow as individuals over the years, and we change, and we grow, and we become people, or we become beings that are just totally different from where we started. And that is the best part about life, is the change, like the guarantee that you will change from today to tomorrow. Like you will biologically change, you will spiritually change, you will mentally change, and you're not going to be the same person tomorrow that you were today. And it's amazing, and I love it. And a lot of people fear it. They fear change because they can't control it. And I mean, you have to get over that. Like you have to get over it 100%, because change is coming, and we're in the middle of a change right now in this world. A huge change. Not a lot of people can see it because they don't want to look at it. They want to be blind to it because it scares them. But for those who are aware and conscious to what's going on around them, they can see it fully. They're in full view of this change consciously on this planet. And I'm excited about it because it's bringing all of us to a new awareness, to a new level of spirituality, to beingness, to awareness. I mean, all of those key words that people use. Like, I just feel like people are becoming more open-minded about belief systems and being open-minded to new healing techniques and living a more holistic lifestyle. And I just love every bit of it because it's like freeing us from the shackles of those old belief systems. And I totally dig it 100%. So yeah, today's episode is pretty intense. I mean, Jonathan and I get after it in our conversation about shamanism and his private practice that he has, and how he heals others, and some of the stories that are behind those healings, and where he's at. And I mean, it goes on and on. Like, this is an intense conversation, and I love it. And actually, you know what? Here's a little taste of what's to come.
Well, it's different for every client. It's absolutely different for every client. I can say this, that what I've learned over the many years that I've done this and working with thousands of people is that when people come to me with a problem, with a relationship breaking up, with losing their job, with an illness, with questioning long-held values, those difficulties are always the seed of their soul's journey. And it's through the darkness, it's through the difficulty that they actually find the new way.
Through the darkness. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That honesty, that transparency that he brings to the show, that just raw energy of just truth is what I'm about and what I'm bringing to you today. And I'm so excited about our conversation. So before we get there, I just want to remind you, you can follow me on social media, tdowns80 on Instagram and at DownsTrey on Twitter. Please check me out at yoursuperiorself.com. Leave me a message. Let me know what you think about everything we've talked about up to this point. Even drop me a line about shamanism. If you have any cool stories about ayahuasca ceremonies, which are pretty intense spiritually. And I want to hear about your thoughts. I want to hear about what your experiences are with those journeys and what you experience. So definitely throw me a line over there. I'm developing a group over on Facebook for those that are more comfortable over on that platform. Check me out, Your Superior Self, and I want to hear from you. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I love the interaction that you guys have provided so far, and I love the fact that you guys are really supporting this show. Please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast from. It helps me scale this. It helps me get this out to those who might need it the most. So keep that in mind. But let's get back to why we're here, and that is to listen to Jonathan just light this interview on fire, just crush it, just send out all the energy that he has in his body through the airwaves to you wherever you're at right now, and just allowing you to soak that up and just transform your energy into where it needs to be, a new level to attract new things in your life. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jonathan Hammond.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Hammond, and this is Your Superior Self.
Jonathan, man, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Aloha, hanging in there. How you doing, Trey?
Aloha. So, shamanism. That is not typically what I talk about. I've had one shaman on the show, and we had an amazing conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm sipping my foot into spirituality. Like, I'm becoming more aware and trying to raise my consciousness and awakening to a lot of different mystical beliefs, and shamanism definitely has my eye. Now, is this shamanism, like, is it a lot about the ayahuasca ceremonies and stuff like that, or is there different types of shamanism? Like, the shaman that I spoke with is down, I think he's in Peru.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of ayahuasca ceremonies. Is that something that you practice?
That's something I've certainly done it in my life. It actually wasn't something that spoke to me all that much, although I had many ceremonies in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So, the ayahuasca is about the facilitating an altered state of consciousness. And there are lots of ways to do that. And shamanic practitioners or shamans, what they're doing is they're accessing the hidden realms, the spiritual realms, to retrieve lost power, to attract healing, to work with spirit guides, and one of the ways into those realms is through an altered state of consciousness. And you can do it a lot of different ways. You can do it through breath work. You can certainly do it through hallucinogens. You can do it the drum itself, monotonous drumming, that will facilitate a light trance state. But the idea is you're just exiting this reality into the shamanic reality. I often talk about that consensus reality is one slice of an apple pie, and shamanic reality is all the rest of the apple pie. So everything all the stuff that we don't have access to until we enter into it. But it's vast. It's vast worlds. Yeah.
What attracted you to this type of belief? Like, what was it? Was it something in your life that triggered it? Was it an exact moment?
Well, I mean, I think like all of us, I was unhappy, or like many of us, I was unhappy. I needed healing. And I also, I'm someone I'm pretty practical. I'm pretty down to earth. I'm not really into too much preciousness. I'm definitely not into judgment or rules. And, shamanism is about the reverence of nature. It's about revering nature, mm-hmm. and about attuning to our most natural selves. And so that really appealed to me, just as I did my own healing work. I think everyone's healing work is really around how do they drop into who they truly are, who they were meant to be. And that's going to go against assimilating. Everyone in this culture, we're all trying to assimilate. We're all trying to fit in. We're all trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're told on television how we're supposed to look. We're told on television what our money's supposed to look like. We're told, and shamanism is about finding that singular truth within you that is as natural, that is your natural self, and aligning with it.
Yeah, I'm going to kick the Joneses' ass. I'll tell you that much right now. They've been ruining my fucking life. I'll tell you that much.
100%. I'm with you 100%.
So explain your healing process, like your ritual. Like, how do you help heal your clients? Like, what does that look like?
Well, it's different for every client. It's absolutely different for every client. I can say this, that what I've learned over the many years that I've done this and working with thousands of people is that when people come to me with a problem, with a relationship breaking up, with losing their job, with an illness, with questioning long-held values, those difficulties are always the seed of their soul's journey. And it's through the darkness, it's through the difficulty that they actually find the new way. And so a lot of times when people come to me with problems and they're stating there's this sense of like, oh, we can now get started because, life has presented you with that inner irritation that says what I'm doing is not working. I got to do something else. It's not working. And that begins the path to that more natural self, to that truer life. So that's one thing that I do. The other big thing that I really look at with people is that people actually don't feel their feelings. People actually don't actually feel into what's true for them because, like I said, we're so socialized to fit in, to be polite, to make nice. And a lot of times, if everyone could just feel what's actually going on with them, our feelings are connected to nature. And again, in shamanism, we revere nature. And the same force that grows the forest, the same force that moves the planet, that moves the tides, that force of nature is us. It's happening inside of us. It's natural and it's spontaneous, and it shows up in our feelings. And if we can align with our feelings always point us in the right direction. But we're so socialized away from listening to it. We're so caught up in the should, and that gets in the way.
Yeah, man. I feel you, man. It's just that I think we're scared about what those feelings are going to feel like, right? Like, I mean, why do you think we take anxiety shit, like depression stuff? Why do we think we medicate with alcohol or drugs? Because of those feelings, right? Like people can't deal with it. I mean, I have anxiety, I mean, anxiety and depression, man, they're like they kill me, but it's like, until you can kind of realize what it actually is. Like I went to the basic level, like really, what is the science behind anxiety? And it's really, it's like a survival thing. Back in the day when we were hunters and gatherers, like the anxiety, was basically to save your life, because it was like, if you were the lone guy, if you weren't a part of the tribe, then you were probably going to fucking die. Like, I mean, because the lion's going to get your ass. But now we have, we don't have the same fears. Like I don't have to worry about a lion attacking me down the street, but what I have to worry about is social anxiety, right? Like not being a part of the Joneses, neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think from I get it. I get the fear-based anxiety, the survival-based anxiety, but I think what the low-level anxiety that a lot of people are feeling is actually a kind of masked anger. And and the anxiety is a little bit more polite than anger. When you again, to go back to nature, there are plenty of things in nature that we don't like. We don't like the great white sharks. We don't like maybe you do, but in general, you don't like the tarantulas. You don't like the cockroaches. But we would never say that those things are not supposed to exist in nature. But the dark feelings that we have, we think that they're not supposed to be there, that they're bad, that they're wrong, that they make us less good, and actually it's in the acknowledgement of that darkness that we actually find our way. And so I think a lot of times with anxiety, it's that people are really afraid of feeling, what is it like to actually really not like my job? What is it like to really think, this relationship really is not working? What's it like to say, I want more than what my family wanted for me, or I want something completely different than what my family wanted for me, and my family wouldn't understand me. And so a lot of times we pull away from that truth, and that truth is the seeds of each of our specialness. But we pull away from it in order to assimilate, in order to fit in. And I think that's what keeps us anxious more than anything else. I think if we could just allow ourselves to be, even if it is, we're being in our lust, we're being in our anger, we're being in our jealousy. From a shamanic point of view, those things matter. Those things are important. If you think about something even unattractive like jealousy is saying like, ooh, I want what that guy has. That's directive. That's directional. And so we harness that. We use that. It's not that we walk around and unskillfully or jealous or or undermine people or are rageaholics, but we do honor that those things are part of nature, and we figure out a way to let them be. Yeah.
Emotions are a part of the human experience, right? Like, I mean, feeling these things, these feelings are a part of the human experience. That's why we keep coming back, right? Like, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation or not.
I do. Yeah.
But that's, I feel like, I'm giving a beautiful moment. I'm giving my 1-year-old daughter a bath, and I'm sitting there washing and watching her. And I'm like, something hit me. It just hit me. It was like, damn, like, this is why we come back, like to feel this joy, but it's also to feel the pain of watching them grow up and not being able to capture that, right? Like, because it is those moments that make us human, to feel that. And that's why we keep coming back, is to have, it's a part of the human experience, man. It's just
That's right. Yeah. And, shamanism is, it's not an ascendant path. It's an embodied path. It's about being here. So we're not waiting to get somewhere if we've been good. We're not waiting to get somewhere where paradise is afterward. That's why I resonate so much with Hawaii, because Hawaii exemplifies the idea that paradise is here, that God is here.
In the moment.
In the moment, in our bodies, in our corporeal, material lives. And so shamanism was developed to live that life in a body better. Shamanism was developed to find food and medicine, to live well, to be in relationship, in good relationship with each other and in community and with the earth. That's really what it was for. It's about living well now. My Hawaiian teacher, he says, let's get the healing done so there's more time to party. Because that's really like that's really the goal, And so yeah, it is about being here, being in our bodies. That's why I'm so attracted to the shamanic path, as opposed to other paths where we are trying to ascend this experience, that we're trying to transcend something. Rather in shamanism, we want to come into harmony.
That's what Jesus taught, right? The moment, be in the moment. But I believe that the eternity is in the moment. Like, I mean, right now, you and I just talking, right?
Yeah.
We're in the moment, and this could last forever, but it's not until it's when the ego, right, like keeps coming in and creeping in and makes the left brain starts thinking about the past and the present, or the past and the future, and starts worrying about other bullshit that's going on. I got this, I got a deadline I got to meet. Oh, I got to go to bed. I got to get up. And that's when you lose the moment. That's when you start thinking about things that you can't fucking control.
That's right. One of the Huna principles, which is what my book is about, one of the Huna principles says now is the moment of power. And so what that means is that because now is the only place that we can do anything, now is the only place where we can access power. Huna also says that all time exists simultaneously in the now, which means that it's only right now that you can influence the past to change it or adapt it in some way so it serves you well now, or to influence the future. And you can only do that right now. So the only place we have access to power to change, to even who we think we are is not what we're all carrying around this old version of ourselves, and we perpetuate it. There's a default mechanism in the brain that causes us to replay the past and worry about the future, so that we can remain in this continuity of self that we understand. But what shamanism says, and what this Huna principle says, is that you can start over right now, that the past need not have any influence on you if you decide right now that it doesn't.
No matter what you've done.
No matter what you've done. And just to say too, like a lot of time, a lot of the shit that we've done, that was unskillful or we're ashamed about or embarrassed about. If you really go back and you look at what was I trying to do when I did that, you really look at it compassionately, you will see that you were trying to meet a need. You were trying to understand something. You were trying to alleviate pain. If you take the things that you did that are the most unskillful, the things that you go, oh, what was I thinking? If you actually go back, you were trying to do something. Now, there might have been a better way that you didn't know, but we can't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And so often when we're doing things that are unskillful in the past, it's because we didn't know what the effect would be. We didn't know what we were trying to do.
We're not even the same person back.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, we biologically are not the same person that we were in the past. I mean, cells die, they live, they recreate, they I mean, they multiply. I mean, it's just insane. And I mean, when I was 25.
There's a scientific theory that says that that every cell in the body has been changed in 7-year intervals.
Yes, absolutely. My 25-year-old self, there's like no biological traces essentially of me then. But I mean, mentally, I'm a different person. I mean, to even think, that's why it's so fucked up when you have like people that, especially like 18-year-olds getting locked up, being trialed for being an adult, especially here in Baltimore, and getting these life sentences. And then when they hit 60, it's like they're not nothing. I mean, they've changed so much their entire lives. I mean, it's just it's insane.
Well, that's all those power structures. That's what's going on the planet right now. They all have to crumble. I mean, even the idea that an 18-year-old. I mean, I've had so many iterations of myself. This spiritual teacher stuff that didn't start till about 10 years ago. I had whole other lives. But the idea that at 17 or 18 years old that you're going to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans to decide what you're going to be for the rest of your life. I mean, it's insane. And
you're still paying your student debt, right?
I'm still paying.
So am I, brother.
I still pay my student loans for a career that I'm not in anymore. Yeah, it's just like the system is not designed for
Sally Mae.
Yeah, and the system is not designed for the singular person, for the person who is feeling into themselves. When you talk about living a spiritual life, what does that really mean? That means that I am creatively engaged with what's happening. I'm creatively engaged with myself. And when the counterintuitive call comes that says it's time for you to go be a healer and it's time for you to leave what you know, to live a spiritual life is to have the faith, to white knuckle through it, and to do that. But the system is not set up to honor our specialness, to honor the soul's journey. We're supposed to fit in, assimilate, and do it the way that everyone else has done. And that's what's changing right now. That's what's shifting right now. It's an arduous change, but it's happening.
I mean, you're seeing it, right? Like I'm noticing a different outlook. Like, there's no way. My mom's listening to my podcast. She's like, she's listened to every goddamn podcast I got. Sorry, Mom. But she's my number one fan, and she's listening to things that if I had said 10 years ago, like she seriously have a serious conversation. Like, what are you talking about, Trey? Like, I talk about reincarnation. I talk about past life regressions. We're talking about shamanism right now and healing work. And she's becoming more open to that, especially with my wife. Like, she's still kind of old school, but like she's kind of getting used to my, my conversation topics. And she's starting to see a little bit of that, but still, I mean, there's a lot of awakening that needs to be done, man. Like that higher consciousness. Like, I mean, I was slow to it. I mean, I was definitely closed-minded to a little bit of that. But
the good news is it not only is it happening right now, and we couldn't stop it if we tried, but many indigenous cultures have actually prophesied this time. And they talked about this time as, and these aren't conspiracy theories. This is embedded in the history of these cultures. The Hopi, the Quechua in South America, the Maya, even the Hindu scripture all talk about this very difficult time on the planet. That is this tumultuous time where it's dark and there's lots of changes, but at the same time, esoteric wisdom is available to the masses in the way that it had never been previously, and we're also seeing that. If you go back, my tradition is Huna. You wouldn't be able to find a practitioner, of 50 years ago that you could actually access. All this esoteric wisdom is available to us because the spiritual intelligences know what they're doing, and they're providing us with that in order to help us ascend and go through this change. Yeah. The prophecies also talk about that even though it's a difficult, tumultuous time, that there will be this army of people who incarnate at this time in order to serve that solution, in order to usher in that new consciousness. And that is really what's happening. And people are going to do it kicking and screaming, but that's where we're going. And everyone, and you just waking up in the way that you are, that's your version of it. And so many people, and certainly anyone listening to this, we all feel it in our own way. But this is bigger than all of us, and we have to really claim our seat as one of those people who are going to usher in that change and help others usher in that change.
Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start, I don't know, not repurpose the podcast, but like really, introduce these types of practices and healing to my audience, to bring that awareness, to raise their consciousness, because I mean, it's such a better way of life, man. I'm telling you, like, my number one rule now is like, what you damns you back. And that's from a Paul Selig, a friend of mine, and he's an author.
I know Paul.
Great guy. I love his work. And I mean, he says that, and it's true. Like I feel myself, like when I start receiving things that I don't necessarily think I should be receiving, it's because I'm putting that out. And then like, I have to readjust myself to start putting more honesty back out in the world. And, man, honesty breeds honesty. It's like, you keep doing the right things, and the right things will happen to you.
That's right. It's so funny. All roads lead to Rome. It's so funny that Paul says that. The basic, the foundational idea in the Huna philosophy that I wrote about is that, and this is the first principle, that the world is what you think it is. So what that means is it's not just that your experience of the world will be based on how you think about it, but that the world itself will create itself. Reality itself will create itself based on your very thoughts. So you're right. What you damn brings more of what you damn. What you love begets love. Fear begets fear. Because we are in a co-creative relationship with the world based on what goes on between our ears.
Reality kind of thing. Like, that's you can create your own reality. Like I 100% agree to that, because if I look back on my life up to this point, I have created everything that I have right now. And some people, it's hard for them to hear that. Like, it's really hard for them to hear that.
It is hard to hear because a lot of times people want to take responsibility for the things that aren't working in their life, and that there is some degree of complicity in their co-creation with that too. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we've done anything on purpose, because what we think and believe can also be unconscious. It can be habituated, and if we have habituated patterns of negativity, low self-esteem, these things that live in us, and that if they go unattended, remain on autopilot, and they are also creating our reality too. That's why it's so important to be aware of, what am I thinking? What am I believing? What's on autopilot? And if I just look at my life and I see the things in my life that I don't like, and I go, my fingerprints are on that shit. My fingerprints are on that shit. Then like that actually gives you access to the power to change it. And from this perspective, life doesn't happen to you. And even the spiritual intelligences, they don't decide to shine on you. They respond to what you create down here and what you're willing to receive from them. All they want to do is love us. Mm-hmm. But we have to be a vessel down here that is willing to receive that love. Yeah,
how do you change that around, right? Like, how do I change my energy around and start projecting more honesty, like remembering that, being in the moment more, right? Like, not like, I found myself today, like doing some stupid shit that the ego was like, just doing things where I caught myself. I was like, damn, dude, like I didn't really want to say that about somebody, but I did it. And I'm like, shit, man. Like what are some of your daily practices to like center yourself, to get you in the right mindset, to really just be the best version of yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a practice, and everything that I say, and shamanism in general is very simple, but simple doesn't necessarily mean easy, because it means that you have to be diligent. It means that you have to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. It means that you have to, when the negative thought form comes up, as it will, that you address it. And you even say something like, I see you over there, and I see you trying to get a hold, and I see you even maybe trying to protect me or trying to help me be vigilant, but you're not running the show. And I know that if I follow you, I'm just going to create more of your ilk, and I'm not going to do that. And so it's a matter of just really being aware of what you're putting out in the universe. Just to be a little meta here, if you think of like reality as just like a canvas, a blank infinite canvas, and onto that reality, we each project whatever's going on between our ears, whatever our inner experience is. And that reality then is made up of all of those individual projections. And what has happened is, because there's been so much negative projection on that vast canvas, that canvas has become sick. And that's what we're experiencing right now. So from this perspective, because, you know, in shamanism, when we look at nature, we see nature is everything works together. It's holistic. Everything has a place, and nothing is separate. Nothing can exist without each other. So that means that we are also in that reality as well. You can think of it like we are individual waves of the ocean, but we can't separate ourselves from the ocean. So what we heal in ourselves, how we cultivate our consciousness, has an effect on the collective when you don't even leave your house, because we are not separate from that reality.
Yeah. Wow. That's some deep stuff right there. I don't know if I asked this before. Shamanism, like why?
Yeah.
Why that? I mean, was it something, you know what I mean? Like what started you down that road?
Well, like I said, I needed healing. I wanted to, I felt like I wanted a spiritual path that felt natural. You know, in shamanism, you know, we haven't really talked about the spiritual aspect of it. You know, in shamanism, the traditional shamans, they would think of spirit guides, spirit intelligences, spirit beings, nature beings, as being as real as the rainforests. So to revere nature in shamanism, the spiritual realms are all a part of nature as well. Also in shamanism, it's about reverence of the earth, you know, and you know, we kind of take the earth for granted, but the earth she loves us. The earth is our mother, and the earth just wants to keep going. And she just wants to keep going in a loving way. She has provided us with everything that we need to keep going. And so to align and flow with the earth is to do whatever we need to do in ourselves to continue going, to grow and create ourselves the way nature does, and the way she exemplifies in nature how we should be. Yeah, and that's why at this time on the planet, it's so important that people get really close to themselves, because the people who are going to usher in this change, if you just feel your feelings and you flow with your own great growth and creation, you remain in alignment with the intelligence of the earth that wants to keep going, and you separate yourself from the people who ain't going to make it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, when they think shaman, right, they think you live in a jungle in a hut, and you know, you smoke a lot of stuff. Not true.
Right.
Not true in this case. Not that, I mean, you have a book, The Shaman's Mind.
Yeah.
I expect my signed copy in the
mail.
Sure,
you got it. Well, let me say this. I mean, you know, shaman. You know, to be a shaman, I would never call myself a shaman. I'm a shamanic practitioner. That would be disrespectful. Shamans come out of these indigenous cultures. It is a destiny for them. It's a very hard path. I wouldn't want that title as well, because that is a wounded, difficult path where you're going through a lot of initiations, and Lord knows I've had my wounding, but like that's big time stuff. So there is a difference between a shaman and shamanic. Shamanic practitioner, yeah. A shaman is now, you know, people have called me that, but I don't, you know, it's like it's nice, but it's not a title that I want to own. I feel like it's disrespectful. It's not necessary. I don't need that, and I feel like it's about that is a birthright thing. That is a cultural thing. I am even just to talk about like cultural appropriation. You know, as much as you know, I'm not a Hawaiian. And so I have taken some of those Hawaiian traditions and filtered them through my own contemporary Western shamanic lens that I understand, because I think it's too good not to share. But I think it's really important to just remember that any Western teacher of these modalities is never going to have the same authenticity as one in an original culture. And the good Western teachers wouldn't even want that, because part of the Western teacher's job is to communicate this wisdom to people, to their community, to how they would understand it. So that's what it is. But yeah, traditional shamans, they're it's nature based, and they live in nature and all of that. But you can be in the city for sure and work with shamanic practice.
That's awesome. How do you so how do I find you? What kind of questions do I want to ask? What do I need to look out for? Because obviously people are just like me, like I was ignorant to this practice, right? And and what you're saying is you're hitting on a lot of topics that I can align with. And people that are listening to this right now might not be able to utilize your services just because of where they live, but what questions should they be asking themselves or someone else if they're very interested in this?
What questions should they be asking themselves?
Is this for something that they should, is this something that they, obviously if they're interested in this practice, if they're interested in this healing, what should they, what questions should they be asking the practitioner? Where should they go to find someone that's not going to take advantage of them if they're out there, or, you know what I mean? Like that some people are just not aware of this type of practice.
That's right. I mean, it's hard, and there are a lot of kind of half-baked practitioners out there, and I get it. I think that it's a very hard question to answer. Sure. The only thing that I can say for myself is that I'm in a constant process of walking my talk. Like that is, I'm leaving no stone unturned if I can possibly help it to do that. And because it just feels absolutely horrible to tell someone to do something that you're not doing for yourself, so like, and so, I think
term for that, right? Hypocrite. I think.
You're jerk, whatever you want to call it. But like, I think that you're looking for, but I also think the main thing is that feel into it. When you're looking at someone's online materials or whatever it is, like, does this feel right to me? Does this feel like the real deal? And let me say this too. If someone is telling you or selling you on this idea that they are so much farther along than you, be very wary. Maybe I'm a step ahead, but I'm just a step ahead. We are all in this together. And the only difference between me and you is that I do this professionally. I've worked hard at it, et cetera. But I think, what is the Zen riddle is, if you meet the Buddha at the side of the road, kill him. And that means, and that means that if anyone is saying that they're more enlightened than you or anyone else, be very wary of that.
Well, I endorse Jonathan Hammond right now. I tell you what, my show, Your Superior Self, endorses Jonathan Hammond. Check him out. He talks the talk and walks the walk.
I do my best.
So why did you write the book? I mean, is it to get the idea, your practices out there? Is it to bring more awareness?
No, the reason why I wrote the book is twofold, because the world's a shit show, and I'm well enough and far enough along on my path that I can actually contribute. That's why I did it. Healing is actually real. Like, healing is a thing. Like, it really works. It really happens, and there are ways to do it. And I also, I discovered this Huna philosophy, which comes out of Polynesia, it provided me with, I had already been a shamanic practitioner for a long time, but it provided me with a way to think about the work and to help other people learn to think about the work, how a shaman thinks. And if you follow the philosophy in the book and you follow the principles, and they're very simple principles, it's not you have to adhere to them, you have to integrate them, but they're very simple. But when you follow them, you actually begin to see through the lens of how shamans think. You begin to see how they work with energy, how they work with power, how they work with the present moment, how they work with co-creative intentions, how they work with spirit, how flexible they are in terms of their ways of working. And how dropped in they are, and so that was really it. When I came to this, I thought, this is how I think, and I found a philosophy from Polynesia that I had no idea existed, that verified what I was doing with my clients, what I was already doing with my clients, but it gave language to it, and gave a kind of systematized form and structure to it that I was then able to teach other people how to think like a shaman. And that whether or not you become a practitioner or not, just for your own life, to think like a shaman is to live effectively, is to live successfully, because you're in a co-creative relationship with what's happening. And that's why I wrote the book, because it was too good not to share.
That's awesome, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there. What can you see other people's energies? Like, I mean, do you have to, like, if you're in a healing session, can you see that, or is it more of like a feeling that you get when you're with that person?
I have a lot of different experiences. Let me say this. I have had all kinds of shit happen. I've had lights flicker in the room. I've had beings around people. I've had a deep knowing, about certain people and all of that. But I don't want to really tell you fantastical stories, because it makes me too special, and you can do it too. You can do it too.
Can you give one special story, so that I can just, I don't know. I love these kind of stories, man.
Yeah, there's a practice that I do in the book. It's from Hawaii. It's called Ho'oponopono, which is the translation of it is to make something right, to make something as right as it can be, to be right with ourselves. And it's a practice. It's a healing practice that that you go through with yourself, and I facilitate with a lot of people. And it's about working with your inner child. It's about working with the parts of you that are hurt, the parts of you that have the low self-esteem, the parts of you that are ill, the parts of you that have forgotten that you're God, And so in working with those, I will often sense, and I write about it in the book, that there's such a deep healing that goes on, that things become very ephemeral, and the lights in the room might flicker and shift, and there's just a sense of you're experiencing someone reclaim something about themselves that had been lost. And when you see it and you feel it, it doesn't feel exactly of this world, So I've had those kind of experiences. I haven't had a lot of scary experiences. I've had more sad experiences where what's come up is it makes me sad because someone's really hurt. But I haven't really had scary experiences. But just to say, if you go in nature, everything in nature. This is so shamanism is animistic. What animism means is that everything. Every object, every tree, every plant, every drop of water has a consciousness, and it's alive and conscious and can respond to your thoughts and wants to respond to your thoughts. So if you go out in nature with that intentionality, that I am actually in a relationship with my thoughts, with these beings in nature, you will have your own fantastical experiences. They really will start talking to you.
That's awesome, man. What's your favorite spot to go in nature?
Hawaii. Hawaii. Yeah, because the thing about Hawaii is that and Hawaii, in order to even go to Hawaii and to contemplate Hawaii, your imagination has to ignite, because it's just so fucking miraculous that you just you can't believe where you are. You can't believe what you're experiencing. And, from a shamanic perspective, the imagination is sort of one of the most powerful tools of the shaman. When a client comes to me, I'm imagining them well. I'm imagining
why don't you
them
live
at
there,
their best.
Man? Why don't you go there? Why don't you live there?
I know. It'll happen.
You're close. I guess you're not in close, but you're in the same kind of
The good news is writing a book on Hawaii, going to Hawaii is a tax write-off. So so I do get there. A lot.
Well, I hear a lot of people are going to Puerto Rico. That's what I hear. A lot of people for tax purposes are going to Puerto Rico.
And for me, it's not time. And Hawaii doesn't need me. The Hawaii doesn't need me. The cities need me.
Sure.
And Hawaii feels like something that, for me, that is earned. And I don't mean in terms of having enough money to do it. Just that I'm here to do to do work and help people and be effective. And when the time comes for me to get very soft-eyed in Hawaii and just gaze on the, then that time will come, but it's not there yet.
I feel your energy, man. You got a really good energy, dude. I'm really becoming a big believer in energy and trying to, there's been a couple times in my life, like I told you, I'm very early in my stages. And so I will feel things in my body that are just kind of whoa, man, what the fuck is that? I remember I was at Paul Selig's, what was it? He did an event with my brother-in-law, and we're just, he's channeling and we're all just hanging out. And I think I had one beer and we did something with my wife where we connected, and like, damn, dude, like my heart chakra, I guess what you call it or something,
sure.
like that space was on fire. Like it was just vibrational. Like I just never experienced anything like that before in my life. And I told my wife that I was like, I had one beer. I'm not drunk. Never had it. I'm not buzzing. I feel something in my heart. It's like really vibrational, and it's like warm, and it's like, so I've started to, in my morning meditation, like really like just experiencing, even on YouTube, just going on there and just trying to find some energy meditations in the morning and just experience these different vibrations, man. Like energy healing's a real thing. Like
it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And the whole purpose is, again, it's all, even though Paul isn't doing shamanism necessarily, it's all about entering into just that slightly altered state, that state that is just not exactly consensus reality. And it's in that you enter into another realm. We're swimming in all kinds of realities all the time. There's even like a reality, like a Fox News reality, and everyone,
I don't want to live there.
No, I don't want to live there either. But everyone subscribes to it. Everyone subscribes, but everyone, and it's real for them, and it's true for them. Sure. And and so they're all different kinds of realities. And this is one that just opens us, that just softens our heart, softens our mind, softens our critical thinking enough that we enter into possibility, into inspiration.
Yeah. No, Stephen Kotler, I don't know if you read any of his books, but he's big into flow. And basically it's when you get into these circumstances where you can definitely raise your consciousness to a different level, but it's like neuroscience stuff, right? Like you can change, you go from beta to alpha to theta, and then like theta, you start experiencing the loss of self, and you start experiencing like, time slows down and you feel like you're in altered states.
That's exactly it. And just to say, monotonous drumming changes those brainwave frequencies. There's been all kinds of studies about that.
What about hemisync? Have you ever heard of that? Like hemisync? So Robert, I just had a thought. Robert, he just wrote, he was big in hemisync, where it's like different sound waves in your brain or in your ears. So like there's like you might have like 8 decibels higher in your left than your right, and it starts manipulating your brain waves, and you start getting to these altered states. Go ahead, but anything, like monotonous drumming, which is what accompanies shamanic journeying, and it's just boom, 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 on and on. That facilitates a shift in brainwave frequency that opens you. Reiki, any sort of energy healing, anything that gets you into that liminal state that's a little dreamlike, that's where you start to access. Robert Monroe is his name.
Robert Monroe. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy stuff. Like he talks about like being able to leave his body and like going to these different, like you were talking about, different dimensions. He talks about the here and now, the life in between lives, and then like the altered multidimensionals, where we're still like, it's like real time, different life kind of thing. It's crazy, dude. But I really am getting into the, like, seriously, it's crazy. Meditations and stuff. Like, what's your favorite meditation technique?
My favorite meditation technique.
Because that's a great way to alter your consciousness.
Well, yeah. But I mean, that would be, for me, it would be a shamanic journey. And so a shamanic journey is a conscious daydream. And we all did this as kids, and so and I teach you how to journey in the book. You go to an imaginal place. Usually in shamanism, it's somewhere in nature. You just imagine that place. You might see it visually. You might feel it. You might just get snippets of images, and that you meet up with a guide. And just let the guide appear. Whatever's there. It might be an animal. It might be a human form. It might be a tree. It might be some mythic creature. And you go there with a question. You go there with, what do I do about, and just allow psyche and spirit to go wherever it is, wherever it wants to take you. And the more relaxed you are, and the more that you just open to it. We all did this as children. This is not something that is far away from us. It's just that we've been socialized out of it. But every child had imaginary friends. Shamans have imaginary friends. Shamans play with bells and drums, and rattles, just like children do.
I had
and
like
so it's
some
entering
kind of
into that
vibe. What was it? We had like not Chinese. What is it? Like where you beat the thing. It was vibrational therapy. It was like bells and it was crazy. But like I felt it was so insane, the vibrations that I was experiencing. Like it was opening places that my heart for a long time was hardened, right, because of my past experiences and me just closing it off and not trying to feel anything. But like some of the spiritual practices that I've been trying to do and put in place, like you talked about Reiki, like I'd never heard of that before before I started down this path. And it's insane. Like what some like vibrations, right? Like who knew that could like heal you, man? Like I didn't know that. Like, but it's real.
Yeah.
What is Reiki though? What is that like more?
What
of
is
that?
Reiki? Yeah. So I mean that's a hands-on healing technique where you are channeling life force energy. I think of it as the same energy that moves and grows the forest. That's life force energy, the thing that beats your heart, the thing that, but you're channeling spiritually guided life force energy. So it's life force energy that has spiritual intelligence infused in it. And you place your hand, and you can learn to do it very simply. And you place your hands on someone, and that energy flows through you. It's not your energy, but it flows through you to the person. And it
fascinating.
Yeah, and I'm a Reiki teacher as well. And again, like so much of I started out as a Reiki teacher, and so much of what I'm doing with Reiki, I learned how to think about it, how to think about what's happening through the Huna stuff.
Well, what's next for you? Like, where do you see yourself going? Like, where are you trying to align yourself? What is your mission?
I'm going to keep my practice is gotten really big, and it's gotten even bigger with believe it or not, with COVID, because everything's virtual now.
Sure.
So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to teach classes. I do think that there's another book, but this one just came out a week and a half ago, so I'm going to
take a break, man.
I'm going to take a break and let that live a little bit. And also, I think that there's a lot. I think, like all of us, I don't think we can do a lot of planning right now.
Yeah.
I think this is about like if there was ever a time when we understand how valuable the now is, it's right now, because it's kind of all we have.
Yeah.
So I think it's also just about letting a lot of things play out and kind of staying in my lane. Staying in my lane, which is one of holding consciousness around what's happening, rather than taking sides and too much. I mean, you know what side I'm on, but you know what I mean. I
get it, brother. The biggest lesson that I've learned is like the more that I keep trying to like do what I think I need to be doing, the more that I find resistance. The more that I just sit back and just kind of take in, like you're talking about, the moment is where I find more, I find more zen. I find more peace. I find not so anxious. Like the less I try to control, the more that I let the universe come to me than me go to it. Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
Just to say, well, what Huna actually means, Huna is essentially who is the active masculine principle. It means going and doing and being. And the na is the more feminine, receptive, sitting tight, relaxing, pacified, soothed. And so it's kind of like yang, yin and yang. Yeah, or yang and yin. That's what that word actually means. And sometimes we need to take action, and sometimes we need more na. Sometimes we need more who, and then sometimes we need more na. Sometimes we just need to sit still. And part of the art of living, of creative engagement with our life is the discernment around which one that is.
Yeah,
which one
knowing when to do that. Yeah. For me, it's been tough. It's just like kind of like, when something presents itself to me, though, that's when it's time to act. Like when I can see a clear pattern or something like that, when it's like, hey, man, wake the fuck up. Like, you're supposed to be doing this. Like, all right, dude, I'm on it. And then I'll just wait for the next step. Like and it sounds so weird. And so, I don't know, I'm a dad now. So it's like, I've had 3 kids and we watch a lot of Frozen and shit and Disney Plus. And so we're watching Frozen 2 and my daughter, I don't know, it's like she watches it all the time. So like the one thing I keep hearing over and over again is like, I don't know, she says something in the movie where she's like, if you can't see the path, just do the next right thing, basically. And I took that and I was like, you know what, man, I'll do that. Like I can buy into that. Like if you can't see your path, just do the next right thing.
That's totally it. That's totally it. And you can always feel it. You can always feel it. When you take an action that feels like this is contributed to my growth, you feel the feelings of satisfaction that accompany it. And when you do something that's antithetical to your growth, you feel the agitating bad feelings. We're wired, but we got to listen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, jonathanhammond.com. That's pretty easy. My book, The Shaman's Mind, Huna Wisdom to Change Your Life. That's available on Amazon or anywhere where books are sold. And I got a lot of classes. If you go to my website, jonathanhammond.com, I got a lot of classes, and you could reach out for a private consultation and groups and all kinds of things. So that's the best way to reach me. Yeah, definitely
gonna put that in show notes for you so that we can get that out there. Right. Support you a little bit, and definitely you have my endorsement. You are the real deal, man. I feel I feel that you're doing great things and bringing an awareness to people that need to be brought that. What do you want your legacy to be, though?
Well, jeez, let's say the most difficult question for what do I want my legacy to be? Leave the world better than I found it. The shamans say that every action we take reverberates 7 generations. And so that more than anything else, to know that I made a difference. And same thing that everyone wants.
Sure.
Sure.
I know one thing that I took out of this entire fantastic, like just powerful interview is like when you talked about nature having that consciousness and they hear us and they want us to, interact with them. Like when I feel that when I go to the ocean, right? Like we go to this place in Delaware, it's like my spot. Like, I used to lifeguard there. Our family goes there. And like when I'm going there, like I literally call it the Earth's heartbeat. Like I just feel like it's this powerful being of just pulsation, and all this energy is rushed to me. Like it can easily take your life. I mean, it can easily take you into the abyss, and you won't be here anymore. But it always sends like the right message to me. Like it just always, like whenever I'm confused or blinded by or crippled by indecision, like I'll go there. I'll run there from from the house or whatever, and I will just be, and I will just sit, and I will listen and just be. And usually the answer will pop up somewhere, and it's just, man, dude, I can get with that.
Well, and just to take it a step further, it's all Earth. What you're wearing on your body is Earth. What you're sitting on is Earth. What's around you is Earth. The computer is Earth. It's all that consciousness. We cannot escape it. We cannot escape it. And if you think of what is around you in your material world as infused with whatever you were feeling in that place in Delaware, because it's never. I mean, there are certain places where we feel it more, but it's never far from you. It's never away from you. We couldn't escape it if we tried.
I love it, Jonathan Hammond, dude, setting this interview on fire, brother. Love it. Pick up his book. This dude knows what he's talking about. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thank you so much, Trey. It's so good to be here. Mahalo. Thank you, my friend.
I want to say thank you to Jonathan Hammond for coming on the show. I want to say thank you to you, the listener, for downloading and taking the time to hang out. Like, it really means a lot to me. Go over to yoursuperiorself.com. Introduce yourself. I want to know who my listeners are. Leave me a message if you like the show. If you don't, you can leave that out. But I want to know who is listening, what's going on with you in your life, and what's happening, what's going on. Follow me on Instagram, tdowns80, and on Twitter at downstray. Hit me up, leave me a message. What are your thoughts about spirituality? I love talking about it. I love hearing about it. I love everything that is in that realm. So, yeah, the baby is just going nuts behind me. let's be clear, almost 2-year-old, so it's not necessarily a baby. So I don't think I'm neglecting any baby, but she is the toddler, and she's in the other room, and she's very tired. She didn't take a nap today, so she's very cranky, and what is she doing right now? She's stealing my wife's food. So yeah, I love it. Love being a father of a little girl. Got 3 kids. Shout out to those who have 3 kids. I respect you so much. All right, guys. I will talk to you later.